A frat brother who's a CPA who's actually owned the laundromat. Another fraternity brother who is a computer science whiz, and he actually also is in a reggae band. We're not going to talk about my partner who's an IT specialist, but also is a music producer. And do not get me started on the attorney that I know who's also a spoken word artist, and she has opened up for artists as well. What do these people have in common? They all operate in their own lane of uniqueness. Sometimes what happens is that we have this mindset that we have to do things a certain way, that when you have people who are in your life who are so different and diversified in the things that they do, they force you to look at exploring some of those other things that you're interested in doing that's so different from what you're doing. So don't ever feel like, I do this, so I have to stay in this lane. People who operate out of their own lanes create their own lanes. Okay, so I got tried. I had a brother who was like, oh, so we get still shots of you stepping as opposed to actual action film. I ain't calling out no names, Brother Sally, I see you. But hey, for those brothers who say, hey, old school, you used to get down back in the day. Yeah, that day is today, just in case you didn't know. So if you look at me stepping light and you wonder, oh, he's still stepping light, what? What? Hey, hi, hi, Okay, right now you're going to see, if you haven't seen already, boatloads of YouTube, MSN, CNBC, all kind of commentators talking about this college scandal in terms of admissions and all this and so forth. But here's the thing, and I wanted to do a video literally to say, let me tell you why you shouldn't give up on college. Because when you see stuff like this, instantly, if you're someone who busts your butt to try to get into a school, you say, why even bother? I mean, that's the logical thing. You say, why bother? Let me be the first to tell you, I understand what it means. I remember when I was going to college back in the day that everybody used to run after the spectacular A student. Well, guess what? I was a spectacular B student. And no one was actively running against me, running for me. And so, you know, there were scholarships that I applied for that people got that I truly believe, not saying that they weren't good students, but they didn't deserve because their situation was not like mine. I was from a single parent household. It was just me and my mom, and she was a teacher. But here's why I say it's important to not let the college scandal, this whole thing, make you disinterested. For parents, I'm hoping what this does is it reinforces to you other ways to be strategic about telling your kids about going to school. We really, if you stop and you think about it, we operate within a society right now where we teach kids that the gateway to greater opportunities is going to college. But sometimes we put a little bit too much emphasis on which college they have to go to. So what ends up happening is that you get yourself in a situation where you condition yourself, like your child says, I got to go to that school because that's the only school that's going to serve the purpose that I want. Now, is that a wrong way of doing things? No. I've went to quite a few great American teach-ins, and I've talked to students, and one of the things I used to always tell them is follow the money. And what I mean by follow the money, I mean follow the money of the money that's being given to you. If you've got a school you've never heard of, it's offering you a scholarship, and it may not necessarily be the school you want to go to, ask yourself, can that school help me meet the mission I want to do in my life? Because if that school is going to shoot me money to go to that school and I can come out of college with the degree I want and go in the career field that I want to go into with very little debt, that's very important. Second of all, there's a lot of times people will talk about, well, this school has this. Aside from the educational opportunities, one of the best things schools have to offer is the access to relationship building. Meaning you meet people who later on in life will play an impact on the things you do. You know, I can tell you stories about a good friend of mine in undergrad who helped me become a member of the fraternity I'm in now. And he and I, several years later, when he went to law school and I went to law school, he opened his own law firm, I opened up my law firm. Guess what? We both used that relationship we had to create opportunities to generate revenue for each other. You know, same thing when I went to law school at Florida State. You know, the going to school at Florida State gave me the opportunity to meet quite a few people who are now good friends of mine. Some of them are prominent attorneys, and some of them are, you know, on the bench and so forth like that. So you got to look beyond the current circumstances. Right now, everybody is screaming about the fact that there are people out there who got something for nothing. And let me tell you, for somebody who bust their butt who had to use student loans, college work study, RTC scholarship to get through undergrad, you know, working for the state to pay through grad, student loans to pay through law school. I get it. It's disheartening to see that there's somebody out there who's getting something for nothing. I know you probably heard this already. It's not a shocker. There are a lot of people out there who get something for nothing. What you've got to do, and especially parents, is you've got to start conditioning your children to say, okay, I got to be strategic about getting what I want for me. I can't worry about them. I can't stress about them. I can't worry there's going to be somebody out here who's getting something for nothing. I got to go out there and get mine. And do not let yourself be blinded by the thought that the only way you can get yours is to get into a specific school. Like, you cannot be successful. That's why whenever I hear students say, I got to go to that school, I'm like, can you not achieve your goal by going someplace other than that school? If I don't get into that school, I'm saying, and they're in the hook because the schools have conditioned you to believe that you have to get into that school. So if the schools, and I'm not saying schools, if there's systems in place where people have the opportunity to take advantage of certain things, whether it be, you know, a weighted criteria because they're a legacy, whether because their families come from affluent backgrounds and they can buy a building and so forth, you got to say this. I hate this, and it's going to all come down to a very basic premise that adults, we know it oh so well. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Learn the rules of engagement so that you can be more dangerous. And the more prominent you know the rules, the more dangerous you are to engage. Be smart. Be smart. Because trust me, I hate to say this, and I've heard it a million times. 10 to 15 years from after you get out of school, nobody's really going to care about where you went to school. At the end of the day, I made great relationships at people at University of Tampa, at University of South Florida, and at Florida State. Those are lifelong relationships that I've made that I still take advantage of to this day. It's really about relationship building. So keep in mind that. Don't let yourself get caught up. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I really appreciate it. Hey, if you haven't had a chance, I want you to go check out my book. Go to Amazon.com. It's what I learned from hanging off the back of an ice cream truck. Yes, as crazy as it may sound, that's exactly what I did. Check it out. You'll really appreciate it. As always, until next time, stay safe, stay